Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost today to the Carolina Panthers 37-26, bringing their record going into the bye week to 2-4. The first time Bruce Arians through 6 games has ever had a record of 2-4. This is the worst record he's ever had through 6 games of coaching in his entire coaching career up to this point. So, without further ado, guys, let's talk about it. Somebody suggested to me in the last video that we start off by talking about the bad, and I don't usually do that, but I guess for the purposes of this video, I will do it because I know we all just want to get the bad out of the way real quick. So let's start by talking about the offensive line. Yet again, they struggled, and I know DeMar Dotson and Alex Kappa were both out for this game. Bruce Arians was asked about this in his press conference after the game, and he pretty much alluded to them both probably being able to return to the Seattle Seahawks game, although it wasn't necessarily fully confirmed by Bruce Arians there. But, you know, I give DeMar Dotson a lot of crap, and a lot of people have given DeMar Dotson a lot of crap this year, but Josh Wells did not do much better. The Buccaneers offensive line today allowed 6 sacks. Not good. That is with them allowing 7 sacks in the last game. They've allowed 13 sacks in 2 games. That is awful. That's really not good, and there's a couple of factors in it. You know, part of it is the offensive line blocking. The other part of it is Jameis Winston holding on to the ball for too long. We will talk about both of those things, but let's talk about the offensive line blocking today. Did not do good under any circumstances. Vernon Butler had 2 sacks. Gerald McCoy had 2.5 sacks. He had his big revenge game finally. It took him the second time around, but he did end up getting there. And the Panthers defensive line, I guess I should say, just made Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers offensive line miserable the entire game in London. It was pretty rough to watch. I don't know how many of you guys watched the game live with me, but if you were there with me, you would tell that, man, like, Winston was just getting hit seemingly almost every single play. He was out there to pass the ball. It was pretty bad. The offensive line needs to improve. I don't know if it's just as simple as getting Alex Kappa and DeMar Dotson back. I will say, man, I miss Alex Kappa right now. I honestly don't think DeMar Dotson would have fared much better than Josh Wells, but I really do miss Alex Kappa right now. Oh, how we take things for granted until they are gone. I will say that much. But miss Alex Kappa. Again, DeMar Dotson, don't know if he would have fared much better if I'm being honest. But, you know, Josh Wells did not play a good game. Even Ali Marpet struggled in this game. It was not fun at all. So the offensive line just has to improve flat out. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to make any like crazy moves of trading for some star offensive lineman from another team. I think they're just going to work with what they have and just shuffle some guys around and just work with what they've got. I know it sucks, but we just have to hope that they improve from week to week and just try and have them get better. That's the only answer I can give you. It's not like this is Madden where you can just trade for somebody, they come in right away, and oh, it works out. You got to learn the scheme, you got to learn the logistics of it all, and the Buccaneers just don't have enough time right now to trade for an offensive lineman and put him in right away as a starter. We just don't have that chance right now. So, you know, you have Earl Watford there, you have Josh Wells, you have Gerald Hawkins, you have Nate Trewin. Those are kind of your 4 rotational type of guys right now. Zach Bailey, I believe he ended up on the injury reserve, so shout out to you, Zach Bailey. But yeah, we just got to see this offensive line improve, not just for the sake of the team, but just for the sake of Jameis Winston. That was not fun to watch. You know, he did not have a good game, and he did hold on to the ball a little bit too long, but the offensive line also did not do him many favors. So, please, offensive line, I told you last week, you didn't listen, so I'm going to tell you again now, please block better. You know, you have a bye week, you know, get some guys healthy, you know, work on some things, you know, Josh Wells, Earl Watford, you're going to have a week there, get things ready, get more prepared for your starting role versus Tennessee. Please, God, just block better. Next player I want to talk about is Vernon Hargreaves III, who was yet again targeted pretty much the entirety of the whole game. And Carlton Davis, he did give up a couple of plays in his own right, but I still think he played leagues better than Vernon and Hargreaves, it just seemed like the whole game they were designing plays around, okay, which side of the field is Vernon Hargreaves on? He's on that side, throw it over there. And it was much like what we saw last week versus the New Orleans Saints. Hargreaves was just getting targeted, picked apart. He was still playing soft, stuff along those lines, and it was rough to see. So Jamel Dean was back. I did not see him on the field at all in terms of playing defensive snaps. Maybe that will change after the bye week. Maybe it won't. We'll see. I expect some changes to be made during the bye week in terms of guys in starting positions and getting playing time over other guys and stuff like that. I think Hargreaves might be one of the casualties of, guys getting shifted around, not necessarily getting traded, but maybe getting benched or not getting as much playing time after the bye week. I could see Hargreaves being one of those guys because these past 2 games, he's been getting targeted left, right, and center. So Hargreaves had another rough game. You hate to see it. I still would like to think he can bounce back, but he's not playing with that physicality that Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians, and the rest of the Buccaneers coaching staff wants to see. And Todd Bowles, he did say in his press conference leading up to this game, like, when Bruce Arians said the guys were playing soft, he meant in coverage. He didn't mean, necessarily their attitude or their personality towards our scheme and whatnot. And, I kind of take both of them. Vernon Hargreaves, he's been playing soft coverage. He's been really far back. And then also, he's getting pushed around a lot, He's not as physical as a guy like Carlton Davis or as a guy like Jamel Dean. He needs to not only stop playing so far back, he also needs to play a little bit more physical ball if he wants to continue to get a lot of starting reps for this team. So Hargreaves had a rough game. Secondary honestly wasn't that bad, all things considered. I thought they did a pretty decent job, but Hargreaves definitely got targeted a lot. Next player I want to talk about, Bobo Wilson. Man, this guy's got to stop being the returner. And I'm usually very, moderate, not even moderate. I'm usually very neutral towards things whenever things are bad, but Bobo Wilson, he needs to not be the returner anymore, plain and simple. I've seen it week in and week out. This is one of my big pet peeves with the Buccaneers right now, is that we still employ Bobo Wilson as the returner. It's so bad. He had 2 fumbles in this game. One of them was lost, and when he was able to actually catch the ball, he couldn't do anything with it. And, Bruce Arians said in his press conference after the game, catch the dang ball. It's not that hard. And I agree with Bruce Arians there. You have nobody around you. It's not like you have an insane amount of pressure, like you're receiving the ball, in an offense. You're just catching it in the breadbasket, essentially. And he can't do that. He can't return the ball. And they asked him about it. The reporters asked Bruce Arians and saying, well, why are you sticking with Bobo Wilson then? And Bruce Arians responded with, well, because nobody's been able to take the job from him. And, it's just it's as simple as that, essentially. And, that's not good, is to paraphrase there. I'm paraphrasing the hell out of what Bruce Arians said. But, I think that you genuinely have to look at bringing in other people. TJ Logan, I'm honestly surprised they haven't put him at punt returner yet. That blows my freaking mind. He's on the punt team with Bobo Wilson. He's not the returner, though. He's one of the blocking guys. So I don't know why he's not returning punts right now. I don't understand it. Maybe they'll try him first before they go out and sign somebody else. But Spencer Snell is still out there. A lot of people suggested him. I would love Spencer Snell to come back and be the returner for this team. I also think he could add a little bit of something in terms of receiver as well. Put Scotty Miller back there. Scotty Miller could be a good returner, but Brashad Perriman could be a good returner when he returns from injury. Dario Ogunbowale could even be a returner. Bruce Arians said when he first came to the team, Dario Ogunbowale could add value as a returner as well as special teams and a running back and whatnot and stuff like that. You could play Scotty Miller, you could play Brashad Perriman, you could play TJ Logan, you could play Dario Ogunbowale. Those are 4 guys that are on the team right now who could get returning opportunities over Bobo Wilson. And honestly, guys, I know a lot of people like Bobo Wilson. He went to FSU. That's awesome. That's cool. But if the only thing that he is adding in terms of his value to the team right now is that he's a returner, he'll catch maybe a pass or 2 during a game. He'll literally only run like 3 or 4 routes a game. But if the main thing that he's being used for in this game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is returning, and he can't even do that, why do you have him on the team? That's just what I have to say about that. Bobo Wilson, I think he shouldn't be on the team anymore. I was shocked that he made the team initially, and he is just not proving himself at all. He had nice catch today. Shout out to that. He's doing way better as a receiver than he is as a returner. He should not be anywhere near the punt return team for this team anymore moving forward with the rest of the season. Finally, last player I want to talk about in terms of the bad section is Bobo Wilson's teammate from FSU, Jameis Winston. And, you know, Winston, he had a rough game. He was 30 of 54 passing, 400 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, 2 fumbles, one of which was lost. Jameis Winston had 6 turnovers for the Buccaneers today by himself. That's bad. That's really, really bad. And I talked about it earlier when discussing the offensive line. Jameis Winston, he did hold on to the ball too long, and he did have his fair share of moments where, okay, Jameis Winston, you're holding on to the ball too long. Oh, there's a fumble. And oh, you're trying to make a play happen when the play's not there. Oh, interception happens, something along those lines. And I will say, not every single turnover is Jameis Winston's fault. There was one instance where a player hit his arm and it resulted in an interception. I wouldn't say that is necessarily on Jameis Winston. Also, towards the end of the game, it was pretty much the last play of the game, he threw an interception. That's just one of those Hail Mary prayer types of interceptions. I would take 2 of these interceptions away. But you still have 3 interceptions, you still have 2 fumbles. Both those fumbles were back-to-back, by the way, both caused by Vernon Butler. And it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And, you know, one of them, the pass was entirely ripped away from Mike Evans by cornerback James Bradberry. That's not good, but also I feel like Winston has to do a little bit of a better job of not throwing it in the same area as James Bradberry is. Maybe throw a little bit outside. I don't know. I'm not a quarterback expert. You guys can let me know what you think about that down in the comment section below. But at the end of the day, 6 turnovers. It's not good. It's just not good. And I asked a lot of you guys what you think about Jameis Winston moving forward. I may make a whole video about it. I may not. We will just have to wait and see. It's a very hotly debated topic that I'm sure would get a lot of comments and a lot of discussion going. But I will say this. Games like this with Jameis Winston are so frustrating to see because he had the 4 good games in a row and finally thought, okay, yeah, we're getting some things going. Jameis Winston's getting going. And then he has a game like this and you're just like, oh my God, he can't do it, man. He just can't string together, you know, multiple amounts of games. He had 3, maybe 4 really good games, if you want to call it 4, at least better than average games, and then he has just a complete meltdown like this. And it was just terrible. We saw this last year versus the Cincinnati Bengals. He was benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick in the middle of that game. Dirk Cutter was trying to save his job. That is what it is. Bruce Arians didn't bench him. He tried to give Jameis Winston a pep talk, and you know, it just didn't happen. I highly suggest you guys watch Bruce Arians' press conference. He does talk about these situations. He said that Jameis Winston, he tries to be Superman. He tries to make plays that aren't there, and it just doesn't work all the time. You know, it does work some of the time, but it doesn't work all the time. I highly recommend you check out that press conference. I will leave a link to it down in the comment section below of this video. He does talk about Jameis Winston and how he performed in this game, but I will say, it is frustrating. I think that Jameis Winston is going to be the quarterback for the remainder of this season, but he really has to eliminate these kind of games from his seasons if we really want to see Jameis Winston progress as a quarterback. That's all I'll say. He seems to have 2 or 3 games like this per season, and it's just, you know, it's just so frustrating to see. You know, we can't keep on having seasons like this where Jameis Winston has 2 or 3 meltdown games because that can kill momentums to, you know, seasons. It's just not good. I've ranted about it long enough. I may make a full video about this. I may not. But let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. Jameis Winston will, you know, probably be our quarterback for the rest of this season unless something insane happens. But, you know, games like this just can't continue to happen. I cannot say that enough. These absolute meltdowns of games with 6 turnovers. I thought we were done with seeing stuff like this when the Dirk Cutter era left, but it wasn't the case. He had a meltdown game today, and it is absolutely frustrating to see. Now we can talk about some of the good. First off, wide receivers Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Mike Evans finished the day with 9 receptions and 96 yards. Chris Godwin finished the day with 10 receptions, 151 yards. These two were 2 of the top players of the game, in my opinion, if not the top 2 players. And I know people are going to bash Mike Evans and say, well, he missed a deep ball that would have been a touchdown, and he didn't look at the last play of the game, and he had another drop pass here and maybe a missed opportunity there. Mike Evans still did some awesome things today. He was targeted so many times. Mistakes are bound to happen. I believe he had somewhere along like 15 targets this game, which is good. Keep it going because he's your best option in terms of receiving. I know Chris Godwin definitely puts up some stuff, and Chris Godwin has been insanely phenomenal this year, but I still think Mike Evans gives you the best receiving option on this team. He plays absolutely phenomenal. He does Mike Evans things. I know he had that missed deep ball opportunity, and that's going to sit with a lot of people, but you know, it happens. Things just didn't go the Buccaneers' way this game. Mike Evans, he had a really awesome bounce-back game. He's continuing to build momentum from himself. He did have an awesome bounce-back game from the New Orleans Saints game last week where he was held to 0 catches for 0 yards. And then Chris Godwin is just absolutely phenomenal. I think he's going to end up being one of the best wide receivers by the end of the year along with Mike Evans. He's going to command a lot of money, Chris Godwin is, when he wants a new contract. Keep an eye on that because good Lord, Chris Godwin is going to command with a lot of money with the type of season he's having. I don't know if the Buccaneers are going to be able to pay him that kind of money, but I really want them to keep Chris Godwin because so far this year he has been absolutely insane. He's looked like a top 5 wide receiver in this league, and then Mike Evans so far has also looked like a top at least 8 wide receiver in this league in my opinion. So both these guys have been playing absolutely phenomenal. This wide receiver duo, best wide receiver duo in the league in my opinion. It's just unfortunate that these amazing stats are wasted on very frustrating games like this. Next player I want to shout out is tight end Cameron Brate. 2 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. You know, Winston's comfortable throwing to him. That's awesome to see. O.J. Howard did get a couple of nice plays in today as well, so shout out to him. But Brate had the touchdown grab. I'm always going to give the nod over a guy who gets the touchdown, so shout out to Cameron Brate. That was awesome to see. 3 guys I want to talk about are the Buccaneers defensive line. First guy, Vita Vea, who finished the day with 4 tackles and 0.5 sacks. He finished with half a sack. I told you guys to pay attention to Vita Vea, and man, did we pay attention to Vita Vea. So did the London broadcast team as well, because they were showing a lot of highlights of Vita Vea. He was blowing up the offensive line. He was making plays. He was getting pressure. He was doing some really awesome things. And Shaq Barrett, he was limited in this game. He was dealing with an injury. He was not out there every single play. You could tell he was hampered by injury. He really didn't look like the usual Shaq Barrett. He really looked slowed down. And in his place, we had Vita Vea doing some awesome things, getting some pressure. Another guy who had an absolutely phenomenal game was Carl Nassib. He finished the day with 6 tackles, 1 sack, and 4 tackles for loss. He was a beast in the run game today. They bottled up Christian McCaffrey something fierce. I believe he finished with 22 carries and 31 yards. I believe. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below, but I know they bottled up Christian McCaffrey something fierce, and Vita Vea was a big part of that, and Carl Nassib was a huge part of that. So shout out to Carl Nassib. He's getting better as every week goes on. I know I was kind of a little bit skeptical of him after the first couple of weeks, but he's really been coming on strong lately. When Jason Pierre-Paul comes back, you're gonna have Jason Pierre-Paul, you're gonna have Carl Nassib, you're gonna have Shaq Barrett once he gets fully healthy, and that's gonna be one hell of a trio of pass rushers along with Vita Vea. And the next guy I want to talk about, Ndamukong Suh, who finished with 3 tackles and a half sack. He did not do as good as Gerald McCoy in terms of his stat numbers, but he still did some pretty good things. I think that Ndamukong Suh, he's getting into a groove as well. He was a little bit quiet the first couple of games to start off the year, but so far, he's getting some more opportunities. He's winning a little bit more. He's showing a little bit more fire, and he, is getting to the quarterback a little bit more. So shout out to those 3 guys, Vita Vea, Carl Nassib, and Ndamukong Suh. You guys all did some decent things today, especially Carl Nassib. He would probably be my defensive player of the game. He did absolutely phenomenal in helping stop Christian McCaffrey. Also, I want to say real quick, shout out to Matt Gay. He made all of his kicks. I'm always going to do that. Shout out to you, Matt Gay. But the last guy I want to talk about is rookie linebacker Devin White, who finished the game with 9 tackles, which led the team, by the way, and 1 tackle for loss. And I know everybody's going to point out the one play with Christian McCaffrey where he literally broke Vernon Hargreaves III's ankles and then stiff-armed Devin White, not into oblivion. That is saved specifically for Chris Conte. But man, he did stiff-arm the hell out of Devin White, but it's Christian McCaffrey. What are you going to do? He's one of the top 5 best running backs in the league, if not like top 3 or even top 2. Christian McCaffrey is a phenomenal running back. Devin White is a rookie. Christian McCaffrey got the better of him on that play. But I will say after that, Devin White made a couple of really nice plays in stopping Christian McCaffrey. He got that tackle for loss where he just blew through the Carolina Panthers offensive line and down to Christian McCaffrey for a 4-yard loss. And then there was another play where Christian McCaffrey, he hit the line. Devin White got behind him, grabbed grabbed him by the waist and basically just back slammed him onto the ground. Devin White was playing with a lot of heart in this game. He was playing with a lot of physicality. He wasn't always there as a rushing linebacker. I thought that Kevin Minter has done better as a rushing linebacker so far up to this point, but you got to remember Devin White, he is a young rookie. He's still getting adjusted to Todd Bowles' system. He's been out for a couple of weeks, so he hasn't been able to get too much comfortable into it. I'm going to say the same thing about Devin White that I said about Vita Vea during his rookie season when he was hurt for the first half of the year. Give it time. Give it time. We're going to see Devin White continue to get better and better. This was a really great start returning from injury with 9 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. He played with a lot of physicality. He played with a lot of heart, and I think he's going to get better as the weeks go on. Guys, last thing I want to say is, on a more positive note here, let's just stick together. I know this is 2 very, very, very frustrating losses in a row for 2 very different reasons. Last week it was the defense. This week it was Jameis Winston, and I understand that this is frustrating. I get that 100%. I'm frustrated too. We don't want to see our team lose in bad fashion of just getting outplayed last week against the New Orleans Saints and then flat out giving the game away today versus the Carolina Panthers. I believe the Panthers scored 23 points off of the 7 turnovers that the Buccaneers had today. You can't have that, okay? You take away those 23 points and, it ends up being a very, very winnable game for the Buccaneers, hands down. The Buccaneers would have won the game at the end of the day. It's just, I know it's frustrating, and I know we all want to yell and complain and whatnot, but all we can do is just move forward with the rest of the year. The Buccaneers are 2-4. Season's still not out of reach, and I know people are going to say, oh, James, that you're being ridiculous, you're being overly optimistic. And that's fine. I understand that. I know we're all frustrated, but we got to stick together, and all we can do is just move forward as fans. The Buccaneers have a bye week this week. That'll be awesome to see. I expect some changes to be made. Either, I don't know if a trade's going to be made. It may be made. It may not be made. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. But I do expect some guys to get playing time now, other over guys. I think that guys like Ferdinand Hargreaves, we might see him go down for a little bit. We might see him lose some playing time moving forward. And we may see Bobo Wilson just flat out. Maybe he might get cut, maybe he might not. I have no idea. But I think at the very least, he will lose his returning opportunities to somebody else. Whether the Buccaneers bring in somebody else like a Spencer Snell, or whether or not they just give the opportunity to a guy like TJ Logan, Brashad Perriman, a Scotty Miller, or Dare Ogunbowale. I think we're going to see some changes on special teams, and we're going to see some changes on defense. But guys, let me know what you think about all of this down in the comment section below. What did you think about this loss, and who did you like from this loss in terms of who did good for the Buccaneers and who do you think did bad for the Buccaneers? And yeah, just let me know what you think. Again, I know it sucks. I know it's frustrating, but we just got to move forward as fans. And I know that's not the best answer, but that's really the only answer we can give. So anyway, guys, we got to stick together as a fan base. We're all we got right now, as a fan group. So let's just stick together and keep on moving forward. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. But until the next video or the next live stream, I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.